our layers completed. I've tidied each and every one of them up. So they're all full at the bottom here now. So make sure that each of them have enough space or room. You don't want to crop them down too much so they're too short. So do make sure you go through every single layer and make sure you have added enough information. You might have some missing, you might have some that are long enough. All of them might be completely fine, so you probably don't even have to do some of what I've done, but it's just in case some of you, particularly if you're using your phones, you can just make sure that everything's aligned correctly. It's really important just to make sure it's done that, so that as you go through them, like a little animation, everything's aligned. And of course these things do take time, but once you start getting used to using layers and cutting and pasting, you can do that. One of the things I did in the last video was talking about my layers and numbers, so just make sure that you're making reference to your own layers and your own numbers, because they'll be completely different from mine. So just be aware that, you know, if I've said, oh, look for layer 8 or something, just make sure that you are considering your own recommended images that you have for each single movement of your GIF that you're going to create. Anyway, to cropping. Crop tool is this one here, okay? So make sure that when you use that, you can just click it anywhere, it doesn't really matter, and it will just go to the outside framed area, okay? So that's really helpful. Now one of the things I notice is that when you go from the corner, it tends to do something quite strange. So perhaps just take one side at a time and make sure you put your guides in. If you don't know how to do guides, Control R will bring up rulers, or Command R, and then you can pop in your guides. Okay, I think in the first video I said about 1 centimetre all the way around. That's probably sufficient. We don't want to crop it so much that we lose too much information, so we're just cropping it a little bit. When you're happy with that, just double click inside, or you can go up to this little tick up here, you can accept it up there. Okay, so now we've got all of our images completed. They're roughly all laid out in a way which I'm happy with. And now it's time to create our actual GIF. So I'm going to go back up to my select tool here. And you'll find timeline here in Windows. So go to Windows, timeline, and it will pop up a little menu underneath. So this is where we're going to create a frame animation. So what we're going to do is we click on create frame animation, and it will come up with the first one that we've got there. Okay, and then we need to go over to the right. There's a little set of lists, I guess you could say, here on the right, and we're going to go into create a new, make frames from layers, sorry, not create new ones. We're going to make frames from layers. So what we're doing is it's going to select all of the layers that we've got there. Do make sure that you have them all at 100% opacity and they're in the order that they should be in. So just double check those things if you haven't done so already. Also make sure you save, okay, at this stage as well, so that if you do need to go back and correct something, you can do that, okay? Alright, so let's go and make frames from layers, and there they've all come up just there. Now if I click on each of those, you can see subtle movement, and you can see also on that one it hasn't cropped so clearly. We might go back and complete that later. I'm just going to leave it for now because I want to show you how to actually create a GIF, but I'm just going to go through and check to see if I have missed any, and I have, that are not quite right. I might even just crop it. Oh, there's another one that's not quite right as well. So what I might do is I'm just going to go Control Z, back to my cropping, and I'm just going to lift that up just a little bit, and hopefully that will crop out enough. So I'm just going to fix that up so when we go back into our timeline, hopefully that will be all correct and it's still showing enough information, so let's just see how that goes. So cropped, create frame animation, pop over to the side, make frames from layers. Oh, this time, why is it reversed it? There we go, that's interesting. So in this time, it has, I think I must have selected the bottom one first. This time it selected the first one last, and the last wolf shall be first, so that would be interesting. But that's okay. We can have the butterfly flying away, or you can have the butterfly doing the reverse. So you can change this in the timeline too. You can just easily move these around to where you want them to be. Just make sure you keep an eye on a track of where they go. I'm just going to leave mine as is, like so, and I'm just going to go back and check through them again. I think all of that is cropped correctly now. Okay, alright, so you'll notice that it says 0 seconds. Now you can leave it like as is, so just play it and you can have a bit of view already. So there's a little play animation. You can select all of them using the shift key to hold down and then click on the last one. Then you can click in here. You can change it to some kind of delay, no delay, and obviously 0.1 seconds, 0.2, etc., etc. You probably don't want to go all the way up to 1 second. I'll just show you what that does. So that's a 1 second delay between each frame. 1 second's quite a long time when you think of frames, so it's probably not something you want to actually do. Perhaps something like no delay, or maybe 0.1 or 0.2. Let's try 0.2 and see what that looks like. It's still considerably fast, but it's just got a little touch. It's a touch little slower. You'll notice here in some of the images there's quite a shiny spot, and that's just from the light from the camera or the light in the room shining off and reflecting from the images. There are other things. You could go in and actually tidy that up in Photoshop. For our little short animation, we're not going to worry too much about that, but if it does bug you, you can go and tidy up each frame, or you can make sure that you just are taking correct frames every single time. So, but look, these are just fun little GIFs, and it just gives you an idea about how you can do that, and how much detail you put into your GIF is related to how much time you have as well. So if it's just something that is going to be shown quickly on the net, or you're going to be sending to somebody, if it's a piece of artwork, you might want to spend a bit more time on it. If it's for a movie or anything related to, I guess, exhibition-wise or art, you probably want to consider spending a bit more time on your GIF. Just take into consideration what it's for. Right, so we're going to leave that at 2, and down here it says once. Okay, you can see that here, and we can change that to 3 times, we can change that to forever, so when we play it, it will just repeat it over and over and over again. So we'll just restart every single time. It's just on a relay. Okay, so we're going to stop that, and the last thing that we're going to do is you can add some sound to that as well. Obviously it doesn't go for a very long time, so you want to create something short, and if it's on a loop, it's only going to last the length of one of those loops. So there are probably other ways to do the forever and have that playing throughout. I'm not quite sure how to do that. That might be something you'd like to go and look up on YouTube. A little bit more about adding sound, like if you want a song to play all the way through, all those kinds of things. But GIFs are generally not very large in size, so you probably don't want to be doing something too long, because it can only cope for, I think it's up to, I can't remember how many megabytes now. I'll have to double check that for you. But they're not incredibly detailed, so just take that into consideration too. So what we're going to do though is we're going to click over here in this little corner and click on that, and then it brings up a little section here that we can play on with. You can stretch those out and make them longer, that's obviously playing around with the seconds, so that's not probably something you can do that you would like to do here, because you don't want it playing at 1 second. So you want we've got each of our layers playing at 0.2 seconds. Okay, so adding, just going to scroll down here over on the right hand side, I'm just going to scroll all the way down the bottom, and you can add an audio track to what you're playing. It's very short, you want something really simplistic, so don't add anything too detailed. It might be just a playful little piece of instrumental music. So I'm going to add audio. I've got some audio here somewhere. I have to go into back to collages. Waltz of the Flowers. I have some somewhere, this one here. So you can download an MP3 from anywhere. So I'm just going to add Waltz of the Flowers. It's just a short little piece of music. I'm going to open it. It's long compared to what we've got. So I'm just going to play it. You'll see what happens when you do play it and there's no GIF there to play. So let's just play that. So it goes to a blank screen after a while, so that's why you don't want to play it for too long. It'll just play a blank screen and continue playing the music forever and ever. So we're going to stop that. It's taking a long time to stop. Alright, so I'm going to scroll all the way to the right. I'm going to grab the end of our waltz and we're going to drag it all the way down. If you have used anything like iMovie, this is very similar to what you would find in something like iMovie. And you can bring it back down to the length of your actual little GIF. Now it's not very long, so we might need to play around with that a little bit more too. So it just plays a very short piece. Stop that. And of course you can drag it at the other end too, so you might find an actual section that you like to use. And just play around with that. It can be quite random. Not quite sure I like that piece of music, but anyway, I'd probably play around with that a little bit more, and when I'm happy with a piece of music, I'll convert it to an MP4. It's quite dramatic when it ends on that main note. It sort of ends up in the eye, so I might just leave it at that. So it's just a very quick GIF. You could potentially go back and repeat your GIF, so you could have all of your layers that are here running back and forth. It means you have to go back and add more layers, or Control C, Control V, so you're cutting and pasting, you can add extra layers. So what you could do ideally is have the butterfly flying from the outside into your eyes, back out this way, so you can have it running back and forth, instead of just looping in the one linear way. Alright, so at this point what we're going to do is we're going to create all of this. We're going to save it. So Control save, let that save. You can see the saving and how long it takes here percentage wise. So when you're happy with everything, you're going to then go to File. You are going to go into Export, and we're going to go down to Render Video, and this is where we can save this as an MP4. You can just save it as a GIF, which we might do that one first actually. So we might go Export As, actually Save for Web, sorry, that's one. So you save for the web, it will scroll through, just give it a little bit of time. Okay, this is where we can save it as a GIF. Now, if you want to present it onto something like YouTube, put it on Instagram, they don't maintain a GIF, unfortunately, at the moment. So you do have to convert it into an MP4 if you're going to do something like that. But we're going to do the GIF first because you can just play it on your own screen anytime, anywhere, or play it for anyone. But if you want to play anything online, you do have to convert that later. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into preset, and we're going to go dithered here, 128. Just going to click on that one. Very slow. Go, and over here on colours, it's got a selected lot of colours, so it's quite pixelated. So it actually takes out, or you can add to those colours. So we're going to choose 256. Hopefully that will change. And it just means that you've got a higher selection, so it's a little bit more refined. It's a 88% dither. You can bring it all the way up, so it doesn't look like it makes a lot of difference. So you can have that up at 100 or have that at 88 when it was. I think it's just making some suggestions for you. If you can't tell the difference, it shouldn't matter too much. So what it does is it just adds, you can see it's just a touch more pixelated at 87% dither. You might like it back, to 100. Yeah, look, it's not a huge difference, so I don't think that matters too much. Do have a look at the size though, it's the size that makes the difference, so we want to keep it as low as possible. This isn't too bad, so that should be fine for now. Alright, so let's save our GIF. Cancel it because actually at the moment it says PNG and we want to save it as a GIF. So don't forget to change that particular part there. The preset seems to always tends to convert back to unnamed for some reason. I don't know why it does that at this stage, but just keep that in mind. Okie dokie, so now we've got our GIF. We're going to save. I'm going to call it Butterfly Girl GIF. It's not going to save over the top of the other one because ours is a PSD. So every time you do a different extension, just remember that, I can say this is a JPG, I can say this is a GIF. They're all separate individual items with a different format. So JPGs, what that would do is it would flatten your PSD. This flattens it. It also reduces the size of it a little as well. But it obviously plays the moving image a lot smoother. But you can only play it in places like Photoshop, or it depends if you have another format to play it on. So I'm going to save. With my highlighter circle is a little bit out of sync with my mouse. To look into that. Okay, let's go. Alright. So that is saved as a GIF, but do go and check inside your folder. Just go to my folder where everything is for digital design 10. Good idea to, just while we're here, is to make sure your folders make sense. Make sure you've got them all sorted out. Sometimes mine don't quite make sense either. It takes a little bit of tidying up, and you can sometimes dump things too quickly in places. Okay, so Butterfly Girl GIF, there it is there, okay? And even if you just click on it, particularly if you've got a Mac, you can just click on it and you should be able to to play it. And if you open that up, if I double click on that, it will open into something like Preview, particularly if you're using a Mac, and that's not very helpful because that's not a moving image. So you do have to right click on it, or again view it through something like the bridge and open it via Photoshop. I don't know why this computer's taking so long. Okay, let's finish here. Okay, so I'm going to go back here. Alright, so that's saved as a GIF. What we want to do now is we want to save it as an MP4. Remember, you can have it with sound or without sound. I'd like you to have a trial of both at least, so that you know how to do those. And remember, it's only a short audio track. So back to export. This time we're going to go down to render video. This time it will save it as an MP4, so just make sure it does say mp4.mp4 there. We're going to keep it at all its original sizes, so we're going to keep everything there. The preset is low quality. I'm just going to keep it low quality. Don't think of anything else just at this time, so I'm going to render. This will take a little bit of time. I'm going to let that run. When you guys view the video, if it's not going fast enough, you can just fast forward through what you need to. Okay, so that should have saved. Let's go back to our folder. And we can open up our MP4 into something like QuickTime now. Oops, let's try that again. There we go. And we should be able to play the sound. Now it's not on a loop here because I think I forgot to actually hit loop over. Let's go back and have a look over here. I may have forgot to do the loop again. So yeah, it says once. So do make sure you go back in and click on forever before you do your MP4. You've got the gist of what you need to do. So the thing about QuickTime, you can actually put that onto a loop here. Anyway, if I can remember how to do that, that would be great. Okay, well, you've got the makings of what you need to do. Loop, it's right down the bottom, looking at it. There we go, and you can play to your heart's content. A little bit of a jump in that. Didn't It's not quite smooth as I would like. Yeah. Alright, I'm going to close that for now. So it tends to be a little bit smoother over here. So make sure you do loop it, play it forever in here. At the moment it's playing, but the sound isn't playing. Just make sure your sound is still connected. We'll just go back into sound. Let's stop that first. Look, I'm going to end the video here. You've got all the tools that you need to now. Creating all of your layers from your GIF, lining them. So just remember to use each of those tools, and of course you can go in and fix up each of your images as much as possible. The best thing you can do when you actually create a GIF though is make sure you get it right in the first place, and then you don't have as much fiddling around in Photoshop. But hey, it's all through experience, and these are just some of the ways that I learned over time to use. So yeah, have fun in making your GIF, and I hope you have a enjoyable time with your collages as well. So we will be printing those out at a later date. So yeah, have fun. Bye.